Hi friends, I welcome you all here at TNV Academy. In this session, we are about to discuss the clause 7.5, which is documented information of an international standard ISO IEC 22301 2019, that is security and resilience, business continuity management systems. In this session, we shall cover all the requirements of clause 7.5 documented information in detail along with some examples for your ease. Clause 7.5 has three subclauses. Subclause 7.5.1 General, Subclause 7.5.2 Creating and Updating, and Subclause 7.5.3 Control of Documented Information. In this session, we shall be discussing all these three subclauses of clause 7.5 of ISO 22301 2019. Here, I would like to mention that as the requirement of the clause 7.5 depends upon the requirement of clause 6, clause 7.1, clause 7.2, clause 7.3 and clause 7.4, I would like to recommend you referring these clauses of the standard for better understanding of clause 7.5. Now, let's discuss about the outcome of this session. After completing this session, you will be enabled to understand how to prepare, maintain, update, and control the documented information determined by the organization as being necessary for the effectiveness of the business continuity management system. Let's discuss the clause 7.5 of ISO 22301 2019, documented information. Documented information is a term which is intended to describe any information that is needed to be controlled and maintained by the organization and the medium on which it is contained. In brief, it includes anything that organization requires to be recorded to make sure its business continuity management system functions properly and that organization can demonstrate concerns of the case. The requirements for documented information are captured and are kept impartially basic. In simple words, a document is information that is written or recorded on some medium, such as a paper sheet or computer's storage device. A document may specify requirements, for example, inventory or technical specification of a product, and may provide direction or show results or evidence of activities performed. The term documented information is used for all document requirements under ISO 22301 2019. The need to have additional documentation beyond those specified in this standard may depend upon compliance obligations, including regulatory requirements and own organizational requirements. Other factors to consider may include the complexity of services and processes, types of activities, business continuity management system issues, significant business continuity aspects, economic risk, effectiveness, and the competence of staff. This information is expected to be personalized to organization because it is noted that the extent of the documented information can differ due to the size and complexity of the organization and also the competence of the people. The organization is responsible for determining what documented information needs to be retained, the period of time for which it is to be retained, and the media to be used for its retention. The requirement to maintain documented information may also include the possibility that the organization can retain that same documented information for a particular purpose. For example, to retain previous versions of it. Lastly, there are requirements for the control of documented information, particularly how it is available and suitable for use, how it is adequately protected, how it is distributed applicably, and how access, retrieval, use, storage, and preservation are controlled. Finally, there needs to be control of changes, retention of documented information, and disposition when these documents are removed from use. If you look closely, you will see that these requirements are very much the same as those already in place for documented procedures and records, only merged into one set of requirements. The requirements of the clause 7.5 of ISO 22301 2019 standard are there to give organization a framework to build a business continuity management system that works the best for the organization in effort to meet legal requirements and improve business continuity management performance. Now, let's talk about its subclause. Clause 7.5 Documented information has the subclauses as Subclause 7.5.1, Subclause 7.5.2, and Subclause 7.5.3. So, let's start with the subclause 7.5.1, which is general. This subclause states that the organization's business continuity management system shall include: Point 1. Shall include documented information required by this document. Point 2. Shall include documented information determined by the organization as being necessary for the effectiveness of the business continuity management system. Here is a note for you. The extent of documented information for a business continuity management system can differ from one organization to another due to the size of organization and its type of activities, processes, products and services, and resources, the complexity of processes and their interactions, the competence of persons. Coming to the explanation part of this subclause 7.5.1, what does it say? The organization's business continuity management system must include documented information required by ISO 22301 2019 standard and also those determined by the organization as being necessary for the effectiveness of the business continuity management system. The extent of documented information for a business continuity management system can differ from an organization to another due to the size of the organization and its type of activities, processes, products, and services, the need to demonstrate fulfillment of its compliance obligations, the complexity of processes and their interactions, and the competence of persons doing work under the organization's control. Now, let me read the subclause 7.5.2, Creating and Updating. When creating and updating documented information, the organization shall ensure appropriate: Point 1. Identification and description. For example, a title, date, author, or reference number. Point 2. Format. For example, language, software versions, graphics, and media. Examples of media can be paper or electronic media. Point 3. Review and approval for suitability and adequacy. Coming to the explanation part. Coming to the explanation part of this subclause 7.5.2, what does it say? When creating and updating documented information, the organization must ensure appropriate identification and description, which may include the following example: a title, date, author, or reference number, and also the format like language versions, etc., and media like paper or electronic. It must also ensure appropriate review and approval for suitability and adequacy of documented information by the management. Now, let us discuss about the subclause 7.5.3, Control of Documented Information of ISO 22301 2019. This subclause 7.5.3 is further divided into two more subclauses, that is 7.5.3.1 and 7.5.3.2. Let me read the subclause 7.5.3.1 now. The subclause 7.5.3.1 documented information required by the business continuity management system, and by this document shall be controlled to ensure. Point 1. It is available and suitable for use, where and when it is needed. Point 2. It is adequately protected, for example, from loss of confidentiality, improper use, or loss of integrity. Coming to the explanation part of this subclause 7.5.3.1. According to subclause 7.5.3.1, documented information required by the business continuity management system of the standard must be controlled to ensure that it is available and suitable for use, where and when it is needed. Subclause 7.5.3.1 states that it must be adequately protected from any kind of loss of confidentiality, improper use, and loss of integrity. Let me read the subclause 7.5.3.2. The subclause 7.5.3.2 states that for the control of documented information, the organization shall address the following activities as applicable. Point 1. Distribution, access, retrieval and use. Point 2. Storage and preservation, including preservation of legibility. Point 3. Control of changes, for example, version control. Point 4. Retention and disposition. Documented information of external origin determined by the organization to be necessary for the planning and operation of the business continuity management system shall be identified as appropriate and controlled. Here is another note for you. Access can imply a decision regarding the permission to view the documented information only, or the permission and authority to view and change the documented information. Coming to the explanation part of this subclause 7.5.3.2. According to subclause 7.5.3.2, for the control of documented information, the organization must address the following activities: distribution, access, retrieval, and use, storage and preservation, including preservation of legibility, control of changes, for example, version control, retention and disposition. Documented information of external origin determined by the organization to be necessary for the planning and operation of the business continuity management system must also be identified as appropriate and controlled. Access can imply a decision regarding the permission to view the documented information only, or the permission and authority to view and change the documented information. Clause 7.5.3.2 states that an organization should create and maintain documented information in a manner sufficient to ensure a suitable, adequate, and effective business continuity management system. The primary focus should be on the implementation of business continuity management system and on business continuity performance, not on a complex documented information control system. In addition, an organization may choose to create additional documented information for purposes of transparency, accountability, continuity, consistency, training, or ease in auditing. Documented information originally created for purposes other than the business continuity management system may be used. The documented information associated with the business continuity management system may be integrated with other information management systems implemented by the organization. At last, once external documents have been determined, they must be identified and they must be controlled. Like internal documents, there must be a title, document number, or other unique identifiers. Such identification typically comes from the source that publishes the document, and the organization simply adopts it. Make sure that all the other aspects of control are applied to external documents. Friends, I hope you have a clear idea about this subclause 7.5, documented information. And now, coming to an important aspect of the standard, that is, practice writing nonconformity under this clause. Please see the auditor finding action report on your screen for writing nonconformities under this clause. Please go through this and try to understand the various components of this nonconformance report. So now we have reached at the end of this session. I sincerely thank you all for your interest and attention.